Welcome to Your Town. I'm Jess. I'm the Executive Director of the United Way of the Upper Ohio Valley. And in the show, we talk about the community, the happiness that's going on, the ways that this community supports its own. And in the holidays, we think of happiness and excitement and being with family and friends, but it also is a time for some people to retreat a little bit, to feel a little bit lonely. There's stress around the holidays. So I want to talk about that too, and if you know somebody that's struggling that way, how we can get them some help so they can enjoy the holidays as well. And joining me today, we have Sandy Williams, who is with Jerry's Walk. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So for those who don't know what Jerry's Walk is, can you explain a little bit about how the organization got started?
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I had a happier story for how it got started. My dad's name was Jerry Williams, and we lost him to suicide in 2011. That set me spinning, and my family, because we didn't understand suicide. So I'm a lawyer, and I found out what I did to cope was to study. I needed to figure this out. I needed to understand it. And the more I did that, the more I saw that we had signs right in front of us, but we just didn't know what those signs were. Right. So after a couple of years, my family decided we need to do something. And, we don't want other people to go through the pain that we're going through. So we started Jerry's Walk. It is a suicide prevention organization. We'll talk about this a little later, but we have an annual walk in St. Clairsville every year. And the entire point of it is to raise awareness. We're not out to make big bucks. We just want to, we're out there to pull the community together and understand that you can't defeat something if you don't talk about it.
Right.
So we're out there to educate and talk about suicide prevention.
And what are some of those signs when you did start to do your study?
It's interesting because a lot of people think if you talk about suicide, that means you're not going to do it. It's just the opposite. If you're talking about it, you're normalizing it in your own mind. You're kind of getting used to people's reactions. So actually talking about death, talking about suicide is a sign. Giving away your possessions, kind of saying goodbyes without saying goodbye. For a lot of folks, younger people especially, shutting down social media sites, just pulling back. Right. Kind of cutting off people and pulling back. And so that's when, unfortunately, I think most of us, when somebody does that, we kind of want to give them a little space, but that's when they need us to reach out and pull them back. Because again, oftentimes we're being tested as the support system to say, do they really care? Would they miss me if I wasn't here? And so if we're not reaching out, unfortunately, we're sending the wrong message.
And then in the holidays.
Holidays are rough. And, holidays are rough for me now. I'll be honest, I live in Columbus. As we drove in today, it's been 11 and a half years. Every time I hit the Belmont County sign on 70, I remember April 25th, 2011, coming home to have to face what had just happened. So for me, the holidays are rough. Even though, like, the rest of the family is there, there's that one chair that's empty, and that's hard. Yeah. So it's hard for those of us who have lost someone. It's hard for people who are struggling. For people who are really suffering from depression, I think it's doubly hard because there's this sense of, I'm supposed to be happy, right? This is a joyous time of year. Everybody's telling me it's joyful. Everybody's happy and singing. I don't feel that way. What's wrong with me? This makes me somehow defective. Nobody wants to be around me, or I don't want to be around people because everybody else is happy and I can't get there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it can be really hard. In fact, I just posted on our social media yesterday. Remember, it's December. For everybody, that's not a sign of cheer. And so folks need to be kind to each other.
That's something we talk about a lot on the show because there's so many people going through a lot of different issues. You just never know what someone's dealing with, right. And you should be kind, whether that's stress from finances or that's stress from losing a loved one or relationship problems or school. Going to say finances again because especially around the holidays, it's become such a commercialized holiday that people get really tight on funding or they want to provide gifts for people and can't afford to and there's stress involved. But for those who are struggling with some type of depression or some type of mental illness, it can also be a very tough time for them. Do you have any resources, anything that you have learned that are available for folks struggling?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I always want to say if in an emergency situation, there's now a new nationwide number, 988. It is a mental health crisis line. It is not 911. It's kind of like 911, but for mental health issues. So if you're really struggling or if you are worried that somebody might be in a desperate situation and might take their life, drop everything, just call 988, okay? And those folks, they do a wonderful job and are able to get through about 80% of those calls on the phone without ever having to get a resource, but they can also get resources if necessary. So in an emergency, call 988. But otherwise, yeah, there are really a lot of good online. There's online counseling, which people have had great Headspace, those kinds of things that folks have had great success with. The crisis text line, which is 741-741, it is available 24/7, 365. They're amazing. I mean, you can text them at 3 in the morning and tell them what's going on, and you are immediately going to be connected to somebody who will talk to you.
Great.
And again, if it needs more than that counselor, they will get you in touch with a professional. So again, I tend to think, and unfortunately with suicide especially, even though people plan it, they actually end up executing it on the spur of the moment. So if you can get people through that spur of the moment, that 5-10 minutes, then you can save a life. And I think that's when the crisis text line or 988 are just the best resources. I will tout our website, though, jerryswalk.org. We have a resource page, and we are always looking for those kind of resources, whether it's online, support groups, whatever that might be, that would be available to everyone here in the Valley. So you can go to our website as well.
You can see somebody that has a family and has children and think they are so happy, they have everything they have. Well, that's easy to say from the outside.
Absolutely.
And not looking in, again, stressing the importance of being kind. If there is somebody who feels that there are avenues that, maybe not suicide necessarily, but in a deep depression, maybe they aren't afraid that someone's going to take their own life, but they see them in this deep depression and they want to help pull them out of that. Do you have any advice or thoughts or any of your studies that you've seen to help for the folks who are trying to get people and pull them out of that depression?
Honestly, being a friend, and I know that sounds really simple, but again, remember, a lot of folks, when they're, especially in a deep depression, unfortunately, one of the characteristics of depression is that you feel like a burden to others. So you're feeling like a burden, you pull away. If your friends pull away too, then that just reinforces, I was right. They don't want me around, I'm a burden. So being persistent as a friend and literally just walking beside that person. And sometimes, I've seen like little cartoons of this, but it's true. It's just like, I'm just gonna sit here with you.
Right.
If you wanna talk, I'm here. If you don't wanna talk, I'm here. I'm just gonna sit here with you. And it's simple, but it's effective. And it gives that person often what they need, and maybe even give them the courage then to talk to you to say, what's really happening and what they're dealing with. I think one of the worst things we've done is, we've taken the word depression and we've kind of made it fluffy, right? I have a bad day and I might say, gosh, I'm so depressed. No, I'm not. I'm having a bad day.
Right.
Tomorrow I'm going to be okay. Depression is a disease, and people should not be judged for it. They need to be helped with it, just like if you have a cold or the flu or cancer, God forbid, something like that. Depression is a disease.
Do you talk a lot about therapy and going to therapy or medication or seeking that type of treatment for folks? Because as you mentioned, some of these are mental disorders. It's like diabetes, high blood pressure.
Absolutely.
Some of that needs to be controlled by medication.
Yeah, and people need to understand that mental health is exactly like physical health. If you saw a friend with a broken leg, you wouldn't say, get over it, move on. You would say, oh my gosh, let me get you to a hospital so we can fix this leg. It needs to be the same with mental health. When you recognize that somebody's struggling, how can I help you? We offer people resources. I have to say, everybody's different, right? Some people aren't comfortable with counseling, some people are. Some people may not be comfortable with medication, but that's a discussion that needs to be held between that person and their doctor. And hopefully, again, I think that's where friends can come in, because very often with depression meds, you don't get it right the first time.
Right.
It makes you feel a little different. You got to play with the dosage, and that's when things get dangerous, because people are like, I don't like how this makes me feel. I'm not going to take this anymore.
Right.
So as a friend, that's when you can be supportive. And if you've done that, I'm going to sit with you. Maybe they'll feel safe enough, hopefully, to say, I am trying this medication now. And then you can check in on them with that and say, how you doing with that? And they can be honest with you, going, I don't like how I feel. Okay, maybe we need to talk to your doctor, get this adjusted.
Right, and there's depression, there's anxiety, and some of them coincide, but some of them can be completely different. If you are struggling with something like what you would consider mild depression or anxiety, you don't have to live that way.
Right.
And it can lead to negative thoughts and trouble around the holidays, and ultimately thoughts that are a lot darker than that. So there are ways that you can take care of your mental health now, where so you won't get to that point. So there's self-care involved there. I'm a big proponent of self-care.
Oh, self-care is huge. And people, Again, I think I know in my profession, that was not high on anybody's list, right? It's like working 12 hours a day was high on everybody's list, not, hey, take a break, go home, take that bath that you just need to relax in.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. That self-care is just as important as any pharmaceutical medication. I really believe that. You've got to look at yourself and listen and say, what do I need? And around the holidays, that's really important because, okay, there are 10 parties. I am anxious about going to every single one of those parties. Do I need to do that? Do I have to do that? Maybe my best self-care is to say no.
Right.
Is to learn to say no.
And I've had to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I've gotten
Yeah.
to the point that I've been so overwhelmed with things in life, and I have 3 kids, and I have a career, and I love being involved in our community. And at some point, you have to say no. And everybody says it, but it's very
It's
hard to
really hard
implement.
to do.
But the
Yeah.
second that you do, I'm telling you, I went through probably 8 weeks of my kids constantly chasing them from one thing to the next, and my anxiety was very high, thinking that, well, I obviously want to be a mother. It's my greatest joy, and being a sports mom is my favorite thing in the entire world. So I want to be at all of those games, but then I can't go to this thing that I know this donor might be there. We all struggle with those thoughts at all times, and the way that we make it normalized is by speaking about it. And as soon as I started talking about it, everybody, me too, me too, me too, me too, me too, me too.
Absolutely.
So
And-
keep that conversation going.
Yeah, it is a shame. As I said earlier when I was talking about suicide, it's just true for mental health altogether. It's stigma.
Yes.
The stigma is literally what kills people because we have this stigma that I'm somehow defective, that people aren't going to understand, and so you keep it to yourself and terrible things can happen. And I have found that with suicide. I mean, after my dad first died, you know, again, we didn't know a lot about it, but as I started talking about it, and over the last 11 years, I'm not kidding you, I can't have a conversation without somebody saying, well, you know, I lost a friend, I lost an uncle, I lost a brother, whatever it was. It's touched almost everybody, but we don't talk about it. Right. So if we could just say, it's okay to say, you know what, I can't handle those 10 parties. Right. I can't handle another big gathering. I'll guarantee you're going to have a lot of folks go, thank goodness somebody said something. So it makes it safe for me to say something.
It's true, and don't say no to yourself. Don't say no to that self-care.
That's the only no you don't.
Yes, make the excuse to do it. I'm very, very open about the fact that I've seen a therapist for the better part since my daughter was born. So much anxiety around being a parent and making sure that you're doing it right and guiding kids down the right path that I started seeing a therapist there because I would have that high anxiety. I'm mentally healthy as far as no medication. I don't have any diagnosis, but any time that I feel like I'm getting in my own way or outside sources are having a really negative impact on me and I don't like the way I feel that day, I make an appointment and I go. Yeah. Just like if you had chronic headaches for weeks and weeks and weeks, you wouldn't think, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. You would know something was wrong. Your body gives you the same type of signs through mental health, and I'm a big proponent of making sure that you're seeking help either through your doctor or through your therapist. I just think it's all very valuable.
Yeah, and I want to stress, just like the medication, therapists, same way. I right after my dad died, my husband will tell you, one night, I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. It was dark. I ran into a wall. You know, I just started crumpled on the floor, and he's like, are you okay? And I just started crying. I'm like, no, I am just so sad. And so I thought, I've never done it, you know, seen a therapist, but I'm going to. The first therapist I went to, I sat on her sofa. She said, tell me your story. I told her about my dad. She started crying. I'm like, this is not the person for me because I need somebody who can be calm and help me work through this. So I said, you know, thank you very much after that hour, and I left. I found somebody else who served that purpose for me. Right. You know, for a few months, that's the person I needed that, you know, to bounce things off of and to help me, you know, struggle with what was going on in my own head. So again, just like medication, see a therapist if you're comfortable with that. Understand, it's okay though if it's not a perfect fit the first time. And I think that every therapist, I would hope, would say the same thing.
I think you're talking a lot about the person who was crying. Sometimes our friends, we feel so much better when we get to vent it out to our friends. But there is that crying, there is that emotional, there is that tie, that support that you get. There is, and you need that, and you should have this friend group you can reach out to. But it's also not really therapy. It's therapeutic. Because you're venting out to friends, but there is a place for that. I'm a big proponent, but I understand it's not easy for some folks to do that, but there are other avenues, and as you mentioned, talking to your doctor is important. So, well, we covered all the topics.
Oh, great. We solved the problem.
Well, I know that you have an event in April that really focuses on, again, awareness and letting people know, and I'm sure because you've had this event for so many years now that people are becoming more aware. Hopefully they are seeing treatment or recognizing those signs because of this program. Can you talk a little bit about the walk?
I hope so, yeah. Again, it's called Jerry's Walk. We have it the last Sunday of April every year. So this year, that'll be April the 30th. It's in St. Clairsville at Memorial Park. It's a contemplative walk. It is not a race. You don't have to worry about walking a mile or 3 miles or whatever. It is St. Clairsville, so there are hills, so once around might be enough. But again, the point of it is education, acceptance, and support. So we're here to educate the community, so we hope you come to the walk so that we can talk to you about what suicide is and what it isn't. And so that, again, that helps remove the stigma, which helps with prevention. We also want to support folks, either, folks who have struggled themselves, or we obviously have a lot of family members who have lost people. And it's a really good opportunity for all of us to come together. We're in a place where, there's no judgment, there are no weird questions, no pressure. It's just a place to be together and remember that person you lost and get some support from others. So, yeah, again, last Sunday in April, jerryswalk.org. My husband is sitting over there. He's our webmaster. I need to repeat that a lot because he always says, you forget to mention the website. But jerryswalk.org. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram, and starting next month, we will be putting things out about the walk, and registration usually opens probably mid-February-ish, but keep checking jerryswalk.org, and you can register there. And we hope you'll join us. It is a good afternoon. Like I said, it's just kind of like a big group hug, honestly.
Yeah,
Again, it's a no judgment zone, which is the best thing. People every year open up to me about somebody they've lost. The gift to me, on a personal note, is every single year somebody I've never met comes up and shares a story about my dad with me. So that's the best gift I can get out of this.
Well, I appreciate you speaking out. This situation needs more voices.
Absolutely.
And talking about it hopefully will eventually get to the point where we can normalize these type of conversations so people can get help. Do you reach out to other families who, if you know in the community that have somebody that committed suicide in their family, do you reach out to them? Do you invite them to reach out to you through your social media website?
Yeah, absolutely. I will give people my personal email or text to reach out to me. I absolutely have done that. We do try to make it easy on the website for folks to reach out to us as well. In my dream, I would like to start, that kind of a next level where we would start something specifically for families. Again, but a lot of that comes with normalizing the conversations,
Right.
because for a lot of families, when they weren't expecting it, or even if they did, then they're like, I don't know what to do with this. And I
So
hate
personal.
this. It's very personal, and I hate it, but there is this fear of being judged.
Mm-hmm.
There's just this fear about this. And along those lines, one thing, and I'm not saying this as a criticism, but this is my little education piece for the day. We are all so used to saying commit suicide. Take that out of your vocabulary. It is died by suicide or took their own life. Commit sounds like you committed a crime.
Fair point.
Or you commit a crime, you commit a sin. And that's where it came from,
Right.
honestly. And it took me a long time to get that out of my vocabulary. And but I think it goes a long way in helping to remove the stigma. Because when you say somebody committed this act, it sounds bad.
Like a crime,
A
like you said,
crime,
yes,
right?
yes,
as
absolutely.
opposed to, taking your own life is bad, but that's what happened. Or died by suicide, because that's just a fact. So to all your viewers out there, I hope if you can take one thing away that will help remove the stigma from suicide is don't say commit suicide.
And that's such a fair point. There's been plenty of times that we've talked about certain things on here, and I try to be very careful about how I word things, because there are ways that if it's not brought to your attention, you don't
Yeah,
realize that it's
absolutely.
being offensive. For example, people that are struggling with addiction, it's person first narrative. That's something that I had to learn too, because we would automatically call someone an addict, and it makes them sound like they're choosing to go down this path where they're just, their addiction's there, but that person first narrative is very important, and it takes away a lot of that stigma, and it takes away the judgment in the word. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
And it's the same with mental health. How many times have you heard somebody say, oh, she's bipolar?
Right.
He's schizophrenic. No.
They're suffering.
That's their diagnosis.
Or their diagnosis, not,
That's their diagnosis. That's their illness.
Right.
You don't say, oh, there's cancer.
Right.
Oh, he's heart attack. No. So same thing. Mental health, physical health, same thing.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on, Sandy. It's always
Thank
good to
you
see
so
you.
much. Good to see you.
And I wish you luck in April. And if anybody needs any help throughout the holidays, you can go to Jerry's Walk on the website or jerryswalk.org. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have anybody in your life that is looking for some of this type of help, if you know someone who has gone through something very, very tough and they're looking for a place to reach out to, Jerry's Walk is a lovely organization and a lovely place to reach out to where you don't have to feel alone. Thank you so much. We do hope that you have a good holiday season. Be kind to folks. It's a very tough time of year for a lot of people. It can be very happy. It can be very sad. It can be very overwhelming. Just take care of yourself and hope that 2023 is a good year for you all. Thank you so much for joining Your Town. We will see you next time.
You're taking me back to the sleepless nights, phone calls and candlelights. Those were the things I liked the most. And back when we were passing notes in school, spend our summers by the pool, talking about what we'd be when we're grown. Well, those were the days. You're taking me back. You're taking me back. When the world was smaller and everything was ours. You're taking me back. You're taking me back. When everything moves slower, you're taking me back to better days.
And welcome to West Liberty University and our Fall 2022 commencement celebration. It marks the formal and symbolic completion of years of study. It also begins a new phase of their lives when they will enter into their careers, advanced study, and opportunities that will test their knowledge, their ideas, and their critical thinking skills.
You're taking me back. When the world was smaller and everything was ours. You're taking me back.
It is my belief that everyone on the hilltop has found a home through West Liberty. Being more than an institution of higher learning, West Liberty University is a family united by our roots within different backgrounds, in turn helping us to become our best selves.
Everyone sitting in these seats today can attest that change and growth are not easy. What seems as insurmountable as Mount Everest will look like a molehill if you simply walk the path with grit, adaptability, and passion. You are fully equipped and ready to lead. You were born into a world of challenges and pressure since day one, from 9/11 to COVID-19 to today. And class of 2022, you are the change agents that we've been waiting for.
You're taking me back. When the world was smaller and everything was ours. You're taking me back. You're taking me back. When everything moves slower, you're taking me back to better days. You're taking me back, all the way back to better days. Oh, you're taking me back to better days.
Hi, my name is Claire Kelly and I'm a microbiology major here at West Liberty, and I want to show you what it's like to be in this program. First off, we're going to head into biological chemistry with Dr. Schmidt.
Now, in looking at the reaction that leads to the formation of this bond, we see that water is released. Does anyone know what kind of reaction this would be where water gets released?
The microbiology program is a really interesting program that prepares you for a wide range of future career paths within the biological sciences. Outside of the required courses, there are really interesting electives that you get to choose from that you wouldn't really get the opportunity elsewhere. For example, I took a fluorescence microscopy course with Dr. Orzempa, where we had full access to a research-grade fluorescence microscope and assisted Dr. Orzempa on research he'd been working on. So I chose this major as microbiology was always a subject that I was really interested in school, and I wanted to learn more about it. After I graduate, I want to continue further studies within the field of medical microbiology, researching diseases caused by microorganisms. Next, we're heading into analytical chemistry with Dr. Swartz.
So it becomes, right, how do you handle all those different errors? You guys learned the rules of synthesis back in Gen Chem.
This major is good for others to consider because it provides you with a comprehensive knowledge on the biological sciences. It prepares you for a variety of future career paths. Many go on to apply for med school, PA school or PT school, or postgraduate studies in microbiology. In addition to that, with the skills you learn in the labs throughout the major, you are also very employable for work in a lab setting. So now I'm going to head into the lab and work on some of my research project. There are so many research opportunities available as an undergrad, both working with professors and conducting independent research. I work with Dr. Schmidt's lab, researching a novel family of antibiotics called rhizazomycins, and how one Francisella tularensis gene in particular plays a role in rhizazomycin susceptibility. It is really unique to have these opportunities, as usually you wouldn't get to do this work until postgraduate studies. Having this experience really gives you a leg up when applying to various graduate programs and jobs. Students in the microbiology program are incredibly lucky with the professors in the biology department. Every single one of them really cares about the success of their students and are very passionate about the subjects they teach. With the small class sizes, they really get to know each and every student and are there to help you when you need it. I'm also on the women's soccer team here at West Lib, and now it's time for practice. Being a student athlete here at West Liberty has been an incredible experience. It definitely comes with its challenges of time management and juggling both college work and training, but there's a lot of support on both sides to make it work. Being a student athlete here means becoming part of the community, and being far away from home, as I'm from Ireland, is really important for me. West Liberty really has become a home away from home. Thanks for checking out the program with me today. For more information, look at our website.
From humble beginnings in 1837, West Liberty University has been home to thousands of students. Whether you're a recent high school graduate or looking to complete a college degree later in life, starting your educational career at West Liberty University will be the catalyst for your future. This is a place where you will discover who you are and where you belong, surrounded by lifelong friends and a supportive faculty and staff. Start your journey home at westliberty.edu.
My name is Keo Kasaya. I'm a graphic designer, class 2016 at West Lib, a graphic design major.
Hi, I'm Miranda Pelicano Kasaya, and I graduated from West Liberty in 2014 as a graphic design major. I work at Morvang, a company in Alexandria, as the art director. We do printing and software development, so a little bit of old school kind of transitioning into the new age of like UX and UI design. Primarily this year I focused on website design and development, which was something totally different, but also a huge learning experience for me, and I hope to continue doing that in the future.
I am a senior creative designer at Maximus Incorporated in the proposal operations branch of the company. I work with a team of designers to create a whole bunch of layouts and graphics that we use for our proposals in the health and human services world of the United States government.
So we met at West Liberty in the design department, hung out a lot in the fine arts building, and that was kind of, our love story blossomed from there. And we actually got together and ended up getting married earlier this year in 2021, and a lot of our connections was formed at West Liberty, and one of our favorite professors and mentors, Moonjun Kang, she actually was the person to perform our marriage ceremony for us. So West Liberty has definitely played an important role in our lives, you can say.
Yeah. My name is Caleb Kasaya.
And I'm Miranda Pelicano Kasaya.
And we're proud to be Hilltoppers.